What's up, everybody? Brett Mix here. Hit like and subscribe if you're enjoying the Monday Night Wars. We have another edition here, the week 74 for the WCW side. This is the 79th episode of Nitro, but the 74th week they've gone head-to-head with Raw. So through 74 weeks, Nitro has 55 wins, WWF has 17 and 2 draws. This is the Nitro with the 3.6 rating. For the first hour, it's Larry Zbyszko and Tony Schiavone. For the second hour, Mike Tenay and Bobby Heenan join the crew while Zbyszko goes away. This is the night after uNcEnSoReD 1997 from the Savannah Civic Center in Savannah, Georgia on March the 17th, 1997. The show begins with clips of uNcEnSoReD with Rodman spray painting Luger and Sting joining the WCW, or proving that he's still a part of WCW and not the nWo, as he points to Hogan as the show went off the air. So fans are pumped that Sting is now a part of the Steiners, Luger, Giant, Harlem Heat, the leaders of WCW. Sting is now on their side, and because the nWo was getting stacked, and they recently added Randy Savage. You had Hogan, the Outsiders. So WCW needed Sting. They didn't want to have Sting on that side too, even though he dresses in white and black as the Crow, which is the nWo's colors, right? Rey Mysterio Jr. opens the show with Psychosis. Rey flips off the ropes with a monkey flip and a Hurricane Rana, sends Psychosis to the outside, and then a Hurricane Rana off the apron to the floor. High-risk move after high-risk move in this one. Psychosis is in the black and white. Rey, who's on all green with a bit of red in his mask. Rey lifted up from a tree of woe in the corner, but then he hit a somersault plancha onto Psychosis to the outside. A springboard Hurricane Rana back into the ring off the top rope, into the Hurricane Rana bridge connection with the pinfall. And 2.5 minutes in, we get Mysterio winning, and I give it 2.5 stars. Arn Anderson is interviewed by Mean Gene by the Nitro stage that's familiar, the interview area up there. Arn said last night was the night Sting came home, and talked about the Horsemen and how they're a cohesive unit. DDP took on Max, hits him with the Diamond Cutter, and wins in under a minute. Good squash match, 3/4 of a star to put DDP over. DDP on the mic said Savage was born to be a chalk outline, and he calls him a dead man walking after they spray painted DDP's wife last night at uNcEnSoReD. Savage then on the other side of the stage, up into the crowd area, from opposite to the side of the stage, I should say, but it's in the crowd area by one of the entrances in the crowd, and he's with Elizabeth, and he goes, brother, 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 brother. And Savage says, no, you're the man, yeah. And he's like, I know your name now, it's DDP. And, Macho Man was talking about how he didn't know his name, but he knows it now. It was like a joke in the nWo for a while that they didn't know DDP's name. Hey, he grew up through the ranks of WCW. Not too many stars did that way. Most of WCW stars were ex-WWF talent, so that's kind of probably why they did that joke. So Savage and DDP have a feud. DDP says, I said, let's get it on right now. And DDP goes running after Savage. Savage goes back in through the concourse and outside, so the chase is on. Next up, we have Conan and Hugh Morris versus the Renegade and Joe Gomez. But I want to say about that DDP Savage feud, it's in the genesis, the opening stages of that feud. That was the feud of 1997 by Pro Wrestling Illustrated. So that consider all the feuds of 97. Brett and Austin, Shawn and Brett, ECW feuds. Hogan and Sting. But that, DDP and Savage, was voted feud of the year. So that shows how good the feud is, and it's just starting. So that's a good thing to keep your eye on these Nitro reviews from now on, as it's only going to get better. They meet at the next pay-per-view, Spring Stampede, and that's a very memorable moment we'll go over when it happens. Conan and Hugh Morris from the Dungeon of Doom take on the Renegade and Joe Gomez. Bischoff came out with Hall and the Nash, the champs. They come to watch their presents for later. Conan with the leg lock on Gomez. Then Morris and the Dungeon of Doom are bringing their power in the match. Power moves and a clothesline, a half crap as Gomez fights out. Renegade gets the hot tag and does both guys in with double lariats. Renegade takes Gomez in, but Morris took him off his feet. Gomez was hurting, so the Renegade made a mistake to tag him in, and now Morris with a moonsault off the top as he hits the No Laughing Matter and wins the tag match. I gave it 2 stars. Dean Malenko taking on Scotty Riggs for the U.S. title. Malenko beat Guerrero last night for the U.S. title at uNcEnSoReD, so he's the new U.S. champion, and he defends it against Scotty Riggs after a swinging net breaker, and he put up the Texas Cloverleaf. Riggs still comes into the American Males, that horrible theme song when he was tagging with Marcus Alexander Bagwell, now nWo's Buff Bagwell. But yeah, he should really ditch the American Males theme song since they're no longer the American Males, and it was a terrible song to begin with. You just heard me sing it a second ago. I to be honest, I don't think I'll ever sing that again, and that's a good thing. I want people to watch these, so you know. I rated it a 1.5 stars, that Riggs Malenko match. Luger and the Giant took on Knuckles, Nelson, and Tarantula. Good to know. I wonder who's going to win. Luger has more Nitro victories than anyone, so him and the Giant took on Nelson and Tarantula. Luger and Giant are victorious after a chokeslam and a torture racks. Basic squasher match. Basic jobber match. Squash match. 3/4 of a star because of their dominance. It's hour 2 on Nitro. Pyro goes off. Ultimo Dragon with Sonny Ono takes on Bobby Eaton. Eaton, the veteran, against the young, high-flying Ultimo Dragon, who is just a great wrestler, probably one of the most underrated cruiserweights of all of them. Dragon runs into a back elbow as Eaton has that resilience, and then he gets a spinning Hurricane Rana off the top rope, and Ultimo Dragon pins him for a 3 count. After that, I gave it a star. nWo come out, and Hogan says the NWO shall rule the wrestling world. This is despite Sting turning his back on them at Uncensored the night before. Hall and Nash talk about the Steiners. Savage talks more about Paige and Kimberly. Hogan and Bischoff talk about how Rodman's in the group, and now the NWO is more powerful than ever. Bischoff says the world titles will be on the line at Spring Stampede. Hall goes, sweet. Hour 2 on Nitro, as I said. More pyros go off. Heenan and Tenay join the thing. Zbyszko leaves. Shivani still calls the action. We got Jeff Jarrett and Mongo Steve McMichael taking on Alex Wright and Mark Starr. Alex Wright with a high thrust kick. Double J dodges it and puts the weight on Wright while tagging in Mongo, who drops a powerful elbow. Then a side suplex. Double J missed Wright in the corner, affording him a chance to get in Starr. Starr makes the tagging hits, an atomic drop to Mongo. Starr then has his legs taken out as Mongo football tackles him. Double J made them tap to a figure 4 in the end as the Horsemen win and prove they're a cohesive unit. After the match, the Public Enemy went after the Horsemen, but Deborah hit Johnny Granger on the outside with a briefcase. Mongo fought Rocco Rock by the Nitro stage and by the podium where the announce tables is. Mean Gene stands there with Deborah, Double J, and Steve McMichael after the match. Deborah says that Double J is a horseman, and Deborah says this is what they call in the beauty pageants a winning combination. Jarrett says that Spring Stampede he's going to prove they're up here, but they're down there, as he talks more about the Horsemen being up here. Scott Norton of the NWO takes on Chavo Guerrero. Chavo went for the leg on the big man, taking out his vertical base, but Norton came back and Chavo attempted a sunset flip. Norton then hit a powerbomb to Chavo in one basic squash match, which gave it a star. Outsiders defeated Bunkhouse Buck and Mike Enos. Outsider's edge was given to Mike Enos after a fall-away slam. So Scott Hall and Kevin Nash with a squash match, I rated it a star. Benoit took on a young Billy Kidman. Another squash match here. A lot of squash matches getting over who they want to get over. The Outsiders, Scott Norton, Chris Benoit, Jeff Jarrett, etc. on this night. Rey Mysterio, Ultimo Dragon. A lot of squash matches, which is okay. You want to build people up and you don't want a 50-50 book everyone. Benoit elevates Kidman into the air, and then he lands it, and then he finishes him with the Crippler Crossface, a new move at the time, or certainly not one used by Benoit a lot. And Mike Tenay explains this is what he calls the Crippler Crossface. So it was a powerful submission victory. Benoit and woman in the center of the ring. They cut a promo, as so does Flair, who goes Mean Gene. And Ric Flair talks about the Horsemen. Benoit says more stuff about Sullivan. Then the Steiner brothers take on Harlem Heat in the main event. Decent back and forth, but the NWO comes out and brawls all against all of them until both teams, all 4 men, Harlem Heat and the Steiner brothers, turn against the NWO to fight. The Outsiders came out, Savage comes out, the NWO, they're all brawling until the WCW clears the ring. Luger and the Giant have joined them, and it's all WCW, and then all of a sudden a big spark, a big pyro at the top. Sting flies in from the zip line, points his bat to Hollywood Hogan, and that's how the show ends. So after the match, it was just WCW versus NWO brawling. Once again, the episode was rated 3.6 to 2.4. Nitro wins the 38th week in a row. I rated this episode of Nitro a 6 out of 10, mostly just squash matches, but the Sting with WCW against the NWO is only going to get better as it goes from here. That's this Nitro's review. I'm Brett Mix. Hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you on the future ones. I'm out.